So today I'm looking at what's in this box here. It's the FNIRSI DWS-200. This is a soldering station. I showed this in a recent mailbag, I think a couple of days ago, it depends on when I do the timing. So this is sent to me at no cost by FNIRSI, just to be clear. It's got little instructions here about things to watch out for when you first unpack it and use it, how to set it up. I'm not going to read that. So, as I showed in the mailbag, we've got the main unit here. We have a stand with a brass soldering iron tip cleaner. Interesting, I've seen one of those before. That kind of sits in there. We've got this packaging, that doesn't really matter. And then we've got a box of parts and accessories just here. So right out. So this is what FNIRSI sent me in this particular kit. There's different versions of this. You can get ones with different handles, with or without helping hands, I think, as well. Got the helping hands in here. So you've got a C210 handle and a C245 handle. So these are two different type power ratings and sizes. That's a 245 and there's another 245 there, and that's a 210 here. Right, yeah, compare those two. Size of tips very different. So if you need to do finer work, like really small SMD stuff, and the 245 is a bit bulky, you've got the 210s you can use instead, which is obviously on the 210 handle. So in this particular kit we've got 6 C245 tips and 3 C210 tips, and we've also got these helping hand things which actually attach to the side of the soldering station here. So you've got little rubber plugs which you obviously remove in this situation. There we go, and they go in there. So if you want to, you can have the helping hands mounted on this and use that to hold components or wires or whatever it is you're working on at the time. So we'll look at that more closely later on. You've got this tip holder here and the base, soldering iron base. Does that tip? It does. So you can change the angles to suit your iron. Now we have 2 irons but only 1 stand, but that's okay because it is only a single output. Alright, so there's not dual output, so you can only run 1 iron at a time. That's fine for most people, depends on what you're doing. What it does mean is if you do need to do some finer work or some bulkier work, you can just unplug the iron, plug in the other one, reconfigure your settings. I'm guessing there's presets on it, I don't know, we'll find out when we turn it on. So yeah, it's got some bits in here, bit holders, different sizes. So it does the 210s and the 245s there. And here's a bit removal and insertion tool just here. When you're taking a bit off, I'll get with my other iron here. This is my Jabe soldering iron here, which I use on my desk. So you can use that and pull that out. And if you want to refit one, you can kind of put it in roughly the right place, and then you can just get one of these appropriate things and seat the tip back in again. So then you can carry on. So you can do hot swapping with the actual iron tips, which is nice. This also got this bracket thing on the side here, which is for an accessory in here. It's got this little arm which you mount on the side, and you can use that to hold your wire from your soldering iron handle out of the way, so it holds up off the desk. It's not dragging across the bench when you're trying to use it. So that may or may not suit you. Lead in here as well, between here and the main unit here. That's probably used for detection, so when you actually put the iron away, it will put to sleep. That's why I suspect it will be anyway. That's quite commonly done. So a quick little look in the manual here. There's the index. So you're on pages 19 to 40. General precautions and so on. I'm just going to flick through this really quickly. You can read it in your own time. Feature set, buttons. This manual is probably downloadable from the FNIRSI website as well, so if you really want more detail, you can probably go and look at that as well. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to turn the thing on and play around with it and see what I'll find out. That's how I learn how to use things, is just trying them. So I'm not going to read any of this right now. I might read it later on once I've had to play with it. If there's anything I've got questions about, I might come back and refer to it. But usually my hope is that a user interface is simple enough to be able to learn it and use it without having to read a manual to use it. Sometimes you get more advanced features where you need that, but you know. Temperature calibration, that's nice. 3 calibration points, looks of it. And product parameters, there we go. It's probably something you want to see. 200 watts max apparently, up to 450 degrees C, 110 to 250 volt, 3 amp input fuse, and well, they call it F210 and F245 tips, not C's. Whether there's a difference, I'm not quite sure. Maybe this is FNIRSI's own tips. Maybe there's a difference because of that. Cleaning it, and some other stuff there. Okay. I think we should turn the thing on. So I'm just setting up these helping hands. Going to obviously assemble it all first before we turn the thing on. We need to do that. And it is pushing to the side because they've got a square fit with like a retaining thing in the centre. And that's it, your helping hands are set up, so you can, if you want to solder right in front of it, you can. And you can then clip wires and whatever you want in there. That's nice enough. Or of course you can do it anywhere if you really wanted to, but there's a good chance you're going to want it to do it in front of your iron, not on top of it. You don't want to drip solder on top of the screen. Alright, so I think I'm ready to power this up for the first time. I don't have a tip in it yet. Just currently no tip in there. And I have actually got some other existing 245 tips, which I think will work fine. We can test that, see if they actually do have the same kind of characteristics as the ones that have been supplied or not. So I'm going to power it up and I'm going to see what kind of power we see on here whilst it's heating and stuff like that as well. Just out of curiosity to see how much current it's actually drawing in. Obviously you won't be able to do that until we put a soldering iron tip in it, but I want to power it up first without a tip in and see what we get. So, power on first. I'm going to turn 30 volts. No power currently. There's a switch on the back, we've got to turn it on. That's now drawing out about 1 watt. I'm just going to wait a little while. I'm going to see if this power changes with it being in standby. We have a light on the front here, it's the blue light, there's nothing on screen yet. So this is just sitting around 1 watt. So this button's lit up in blue. Let's push it. Turning on. Great. That's now putting out 1.8 watts. It's prompting for what language you want. English. Insert a tip, that's fine. That's not annoying at all. That's an interesting display. I will pull this one off. So it's asking for a tip. That's fine, we can do that. Now I'm going to put in one of the original tips that came with it. Let's try and get one which is similar to one I have, which I can do a comparison with. We'll try this one here. It's a knife tip. So it says it's an HS02A. And I have the same tip on my other iron. So this should be basically a good comparison. So let's just put it in roughly the right place. You don't hold on to it as you push it in, you just get it in and then you push it in with the holder. That will now register and that's heating up. I saw 196 watts just then. So yes, it is indeed doing 200 watts. It says it's sitting at 300, got there very quickly and you got a bit of smoke coming off it as you would expect from a brand new iron which is just doing its thing. So instantly it's gone to sleep when I put it into the holder. Don't think I've got the cable connected between the two so it knows when it goes into the holder. I'm not sure what it drops back down to in sleep mode. It's probably a setting for that. It's actually recognised it's also got an F245 tip in it. It shows up in the top corner here. I'll get closer to the screen in a minute and we'll have a closer look at that. But I just want to see what the whole back drops to, and then I'm going to get my iron tester here and we'll see what the temperature comes back as well. So I'm going to do a range of temperatures, so that's still dropping back. Don't know, it's still going, maybe it drops down to 100 or something. Right. So, since it's at 300, we'll do that first. Let's get the tip tester where you can see it. Push some solder on there, it's melted easy. Tip tester. And how close do we get with this? Sometimes it's about the thermal contact you get on the actual thermocouple here. So that's currently about 16 degrees, 15 degrees down. That's not too bad for initial out the box thing. It is calibratable. So it goes down by 5 degree steps. That's nice. I like 5 degree steps. That's good. 1 degree step seems kind of ridiculous. 5 degrees seems fine. Let's do 250. See how that comes up. You need to do a few different temperatures. Let's check the accuracy across a range because it may not be linear. 243. So it's 7 degrees down there. Okay. Let's go up. Got to. Let's do 330 degrees. We'll see what we get here. It's doing about 310. So that's about 20 degrees down there. Okay. Let's do 380. So that's about 23 degrees down. 410. Shouldn't really need to go this high normally. And that's about 20 degrees down still. Not too bad. Now it's actually changing the setting up here in the corner. That's fine. It does have presets as well. I'll have to look at how we use those. But so we've got an idea of the accuracy out of the box with one of the default tips. I'm going to change this tip to one on my other iron, and we're going to do a comparison between one of the temperatures we did before. Just take this out of here. So this is another tip, obviously not FNIRSI one. It says no. Actually, I'll take that back. I put the tip in and it recognised the tip was there. I put it in a holder and it went to 100 degrees, and then I pulled it out the holder and it shot up. So no, that is working. That's at 300 degrees. Alright, we'll do 300 degrees and we'll see what we get on the tester here. And that's also 15 degrees down, which you can't see on screen. So that is actually comparable with the chip that came from FNIRSI. So tips seem to be exactly the same. So third-party tips seem to be completely compatible. That's good. We'll carry on. So now let's actually look at the front panel and the controls and the menus and whatever options it has on here. I've got no idea. I haven't read the manual. So I'm just going to push buttons randomly and see what we get. So we've got a channel button. So I'm guessing that does these presets here. 300, 330, 360. Back to that. Oh, it's gone to sleep. It's in sleep mode now. So it's got a different display. Maybe it's the display it does when it actually goes to sleep. Actually, right now it's set to 100 degrees up here. And as I'm changing these, that is indeed changing in 5 degree steps as well. So you can actually change your sleep setting. Now, because it warms up so quickly, there's no real benefit to having a high sleep temperature because it comes up in a matter of seconds. You pick the handle up and then before you even touch your work, it's up to temperature. So you might as well set a low temperature here on your sleep to help preserve your iron life. Your tips will last longer if you use a lower sleep temperature, which is better. So we've got mode. You've got a power graph here, that's nice. Just pick the handle up. Nice, so you can see the graphing here. That could be useful if you're doing certain tasks with which may require profiles. It's showing power in blue. We're up to about, what was that, 90 watts or so? I think that's what it represents. And I did see 91 watts on the mains power unit. I did see about 91 watts on there. And here's the temperature graph coming down. Okay. We've also got that mode. You've got this mode, which has got the power graph and that display at the same time. And this power graph only. And that's showing output power as a percentage down the bottom. As this does this one. So you've basically got two screens that are doing the same thing, but one's also got a graph on it for the temperature. I'm not really sure which one you prefer. I mean, I think probably go with that one for me. So that's that. Menu. Let's have a look at menu. Temp E set. There's an E there. Should I turn some of these lights off so you can see the screen better? I think it's probably a good idea. That might help slightly. If there's a brightness setting in here, I'll turn it up. We'll see what we find. Right. So we've got temp E set, not temperature or temp. Yeah, bit of a Englishing there. Temp lock is off, so it means you can disable it. It's probably a password lock or something on that. Next screen, sleep set, so sleep temperature, standby switch on, standby time 30 minutes, screen shutdown is off. So I think it means you'll actually turn the whole power off, so you have to push this button again. That's what I'm guessing, which is fine. I don't see an issue with those settings. You got the preset temperatures here. They're kind of okay. Let's see if I can change one. There we go. Let's drop this one down a little bit. Let's go, say 270. Sometimes you do want a colder one. Do more delicate stuff. Okay. The next one there. I think I will make this one 300. The button pushing may be annoying you. It doesn't bother me.
And sometimes you do need a really hot one. I think 360, I'm going to leave that one. I'll go back. I think I'll go to 350. 350. Right, 270, 300, 350. We'll do that. Okay, that's those three memories in there. Back. Here we go. Back button. Okay. Temperature calibration. So we can actually adjust these calibration points to get a more accurate readout on our tester here. I think this is something we should probably do. I mean, it's only 15 degrees out or so. It's not a big deal. That may even differ with different tips. I might find I'll put a different tip in and it will behave a bit differently. But then I compare two tips which are exactly the same version of a tip from different sources. They come out with basically the same result. So, shall we have a look? Temperature calibration. Let's do this, shall we? 150. So that says 150 right now. And that is heating. This is going to be hard to get because it's not melting the solder. It's not the best calibration point actually, 150. Something closer to 200 would be better anyway. Unfortunately it doesn't tell you what the actual level is set to currently. It's just a plus and minus thing. And because I held it down that's looking close. Again, it's not melting solder, that's the only problem, so it's not getting the best contact on here. I was getting higher temperature than that before. I had a better contact point. Still got one more. Let's go to the next point where we can hopefully get a actual reading from it, because it will melt solder. Right, here we go, now melting solder. So let's increase that a little bit. Yes, it's going up. Some fresh solder. There we go, 250 on both now. Cool. 350 is the next one. Trying to give it a bit of time for the heat to soak through the tip as well. There you go, 350. Okay, so I think I'm going to call that one done. I'll come back and recheck these again after. What's the next menu? Screen brightness and volume. Well, brightness is audio on maximum, so that's as much as the screen brightness is. In person it looks okay, on camera it's always harder to capture. Cameras don't pick up the screen so well, that's just a common issue. Volume, I think I'm going to turn this down a bit. I do like to have button confirmations, but it don't need to be that loud, so that's better. And yes, I do want degree C. Okay, back out of there, and back to English menu, and this is software version 1.2, and I'm not going to reset anything. And temperature steps, you can adjust those, 5 degrees C. I might actually change that to, I prefer 10 degrees C. I think that'll do. Back, back. Let's see what we can get from this. 150 is the lowest I've got it set to right now, and I want to see what happens to this temperature at 150. This might take a minute. Obviously the temperature's coming down on the iron tip, and it's slowly getting there, but because it's not a great set point for soldered soldering temperatures, it's reading slightly high. What I might do is go to a temperature which should melt the solder just. There you go, it's melting there, 180. What temperature we got there? Yeah, probably overshot for that 150 degree temperature calibration, because it's 10 degrees high now. So what I think I will do is go back to that 50 degree one, drop it down about, I don't know, 5 points. I think that'd be about right. So, shortcuts, temperature calibration, select that one. We'll try that. Test it again. Waiting for it to melt the solder. Barely melting it. It's definitely a lot closer. A bit more fresh solder in there. I'm just trying to get this to the lowest point, which would be practical. It's only a couple of degrees down. That's not bad. Let's do 190 so it's melting better, get a bit of contact. Yes, I might go up by one. I'll go up by one on that temperature thing. No, I think that'll be pretty close then. Yep, 190. Both agree now. That's good. That tip is calibrated. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to change to the C210 tip, or handle. So it's unplug this. I'll just turn it off as a precaution. I don't know if you need to turn it off or not, but I think it's a good idea to turn it off. Let's plug in the 210. I'll also get a tip for that as well. Now I actually tried doing a C210 holder on my Jabe soldering station a while ago, and the thing just went red hot. It did not like it. So I don't know if it's the equipment I purchased for that is because it's aftermarket. You don't quite know what you're going to get aftermarket. However, it's just not compatible. This is designed for it, so I'm more comfortable about this one being done. Let's get something reasonable size. This is a HS02BK. It's quite a large tip for this. We'll shove that in. Like that, it's ready to go. Turn it on. And we'll power that back up again because it's gone to sleep. Set a 270, that's fine. It recognises the 210 tip and it's gone to 270. It's retained my previous settings. I put in 270, 300 and 350. And that's jumping around a bit. Why is it jumping around a bit? Is it my tip not in properly? Yeah, it's not in properly. Why is that jumping around? Let's try it again. Yeah, it's jumping all over the place for some reason with this tip. Something's not quite right with this one. Maybe I have a bad connection somewhere. The temperature is also miles out. Let me recheck my connections and I'll come back. Alright, so I just reconnected everything. Redone a connector on the back, reseated the tip, and we'll try this again and see if it behaves a bit better this time. That's looking promising. That's looking better. Oh, of course this is turned off again. Let's see if this is about 270 or not. Melting solder. Temperature is 70 degrees down. Now, I don't know if these temperature calibrations are across both types of handles or if it's one calibration for each type. I don't know. Set at 350 and I'm getting 275 or so. So let's go into the settings, see if there's a different set of calibrations for this tip, or whether I'm going to end up with an issue with that. I'm going to skip the 150. I'm going to go straight to the 250 degree. I just hope this doesn't mess up the calibration I did for the other one. I got the feeling there's only one. I'm wondering if this might mess up my calibration I just did for the other iron tips. If they've got the firmware right, it'll be separate. So let's just bring this down over here a bit so you can see, hopefully. So getting 190 there, need to increase this a lot. Now thermal mass is obviously going to be a thing because of the thermocouple and the mountings and what have you. This is a big difference on this one. It's actually having trouble getting up there, I think. Almost out of adjustment range on this one. I might leave it there. 350. I really hope this doesn't screw up the other one. That has actually improved the 350 one. Okay, 350 is pretty close now. Let's go back to 250 again. So that's now sitting a bit high, which is a good thing. Okay, 250 is looking okay. Let's try 150. Like I said, a ridiculously low temperature. Or do you think they should make this like 200 or something? Or 180 maybe? Okay, that'll do. And I'm stuck to it now. Soldered it on. There we go. Released. Okay, well that's that tip calibrated. Now what's going to happen if I try and put the other tip back in again? I think I need to find this out. Right, let's try this back in. Back to this 245 tip. And we'll see if our temperature's messed up. So it's currently set at 350. Let's go down to 270 first. So it's sitting at 270. That's sitting lower. Let's try 300. That's sitting slightly low. 10 degrees low. I'm trying to figure out if it's actually adjusted the calibration for this or not. It's 10 degrees low. Did it adjust the calibration? I'm not sure. It's definitely sitting lower, but it's high. It was originally uncalibrated. So, and I've had to put the levels up a lot for the 210 tip. So I don't think it's thrown out to 245. I think the 245 is still kind of okay, but it's really slightly lower, which is interesting. Yeah, I think there's one more test we have to do, and that is to see if we can hot swap the handles. What's going to happen when I unplug a handle? Let's find out. Is he going to like it? It probably isn't going to like it, but let's find out. This says no tip. Okay. Let's swap the handles around. Put a 210 in here. Plug it in. Detected okay. So yeah, it is hot swappable. And that's reading almost 350. That's getting there. Good, that's still working fine. So hot swappable is possible. So my next test is look at the power on here. As I turn it on, I've got the soldering iron shoved into a pile of brass wool. So it should soak the heat away quite quickly and help slow down the heat up, the C210 tip. So I want to see what the power here is when it's booting up. That's going to stand by. It's wanting to be that first. Right, let's watch that. 83 watts. I saw 83 watts then. So even the 210 tip can deliver quite a lot of power. So let's actually do some soldering tests. Obviously it's going to solder onto this piece of perf board here because it's a bit of scrap stuff. It doesn't really matter if I put solder on here and clean it back up again after. I don't have any big boards here to test on. So I'm just going to use the T10 tip first. We'll see how that handles soaking power into this board. Hopefully we can see on display here what's going on. I'm going to try and get it a bit closer. So I'll turn off one of the lights to try and make it easier to see. That's the heat up time, so that's pretty quick. So before I even started soldering, it's ready. So let's stick this on here and see how this goes at 350. Big blob on there. Solder this down. That is melting absolutely fine even with a 210 tip. That is not struggling at all. Power's doing about 15 watts trying to do all this. 17 watts I'm seeing now on the power meter. That's all working fine. Let's change modes on here. We've got the graphing on here. Don't really you can see it on screen anyway. But yeah, that's barely doing anything at all. Okay, let's do the 245 tip and see how that compares. Right, got the 245 tip plugged in. And what do we get? There's the graph. It's heating really quickly. It took it longer to warm up this one. And you see the power graph there. And that is doing just fine. That's putting about 24 watts I saw just then. I was trying to melt this. And you expect a 245 tip to do better. Because, you know, it's a bigger tip. More powerful tip. But the fact that 210 could do it as well was quite good. I'm very happy with that. That's fine. So obviously you've got these helping hands here, so if you really wanted to, you could grab older things such as this, and then you could, you know, position it as you want and solder onto it, which could be really useful. Like I was holding it down before my bench with my hand. Well, if I bothered to use these, which come on it, then that wouldn't have been necessary. Let's turn it back on again. You boot up. And I'll do this again. And that's just fine. Right, so you could definitely use these helping hands to do this sort of job as well. No worries whatsoever there. So the other thing this has got, which I kind of showed at the very beginning, in the unboxing, is this piece here. What this means is you can put this in a position where your wire is coming over and you can sort of tuck it out the way in some form or other. Does that turn? It doesn't turn, it's only sideways. Anyway, so you can tuck it in like that. So you got this excess wire kind of held out of the way, so if you're using it, it's held up off the bench and out of the way and doesn't drag across things. That could be useful to you. I know that when I'm using my Jabe soldering station here, it doesn't have one of these on it, and having the wire dragging across things can be a bit annoying sometimes, so you've got the option of using it. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. Doesn't matter. But if you want it, then you've got an option. It'll definitely make your life a little bit easier. So I think the summary of this thing, in this particular kit where you get both handles with it and these other accessories, which you may or may not need, for me I think I probably wouldn't use these very often. I mean, I think I'll probably just take them off, and if I needed to use them I'll hook them onto it and just have them in a drawer or something, you know, put them on when needed. So that to me is a bit in my way because of my desk is quite cramped. In some situations you're going to want these and they're going to be really useful to you. This is probably, in my initial impressions, better for me than my Jabe soldering station, which I've been using for a couple of years now, probably maybe 3 years now I think, that Jabe soldering station, UD1200. I did a review on that one a while ago, and I've been using that one ever since because I really liked it. It works really well for me. I'm thinking I might make this one my main station, at least for the time being, give it a really good try out and see how it performs over a longer period of time. What I like about it is the fact you've got two handles and you can swap them out. The extra bit holders in the top here and more space for bits down here. This wire brush thing, I'm not quite sure about this brass wire brush. I'm not convinced that's great. I don't know, I mean it's just a bit novel, but I'm not sure how it's going to go for cleaning. I prefer brass wool, I prefer that. So I'm not quite sure, I might swap that out with some brass wool or something, I'm not sure, but we'll see how this goes maybe. It might be better. Going to take up about the same footprint if I take this off and stick these side by side. This footprint is actually about the same as my Jabe soldering station. Something like this, get this out of the way. It's probably only a fraction wider, there's not much in it. And it's probably easier for me to get to the power switch on this than it is on the Jabe one. I wouldn't leave it in standby, I'd always use the main power switch. Because I don't use it every day. If you use it every day, then just using standby is probably better for you. So I think that's probably fine. This wire at the back, it allows you to put this in different places, which is fine too, I suppose. You want to move this closer. That's sort of restriction on my Jabe soldering station. I can't do that. The holder's built into the station. so I can't move the actual soldering iron away. With this you could do that and have this close to where you want it, which also has got benefits. So yeah, I think I'm going to swap out my Jabe station with this one, try this out over longer term and see how it goes. If you want to check out my Jabe soldering station review, look in my review section, it's probably in there somewhere. Look for JABE-UD-1200, that's in my review history. If you want interest in that one as a comparison to what I'm talking about as far as comparing this to that one. But I think this one is potentially better. My initial impression is that this is going to be better for me, and it's got a bit more functionality to it and a bit more usefulness. This being portable away from it, and the fact it's got the two handles, makes it better for me, I think. And the extra storage, it's also got storage up here, I forgot to mention that, it's got storage in here too. So you've got storage in here and storage in here. And with my Jabe station, I literally have stuff shoved into the puller section in here, because that's all it's got a puller, it doesn't actually have any storage. And I've got bits shoved in there and laying on the bench and stuff like that. Having all this storage in the top is actually really good as well. So what does it say about this, that I'm willing to swap out my existing solder station and put this one in? It shows it's giving me a good impression. Time will tell if that lasts, but my initial impression is that this is a decent station. There's links down below. I've got commission and non-commission links. So there's trackable links which go to FNIRSI, so they know you followed my link. But there's also one down there where I will get a commission if you buy one. Obviously all sales eventually go to FNIRSI anyway because it's their product, so they're going to get the sales regardless which one you use. Having them know you followed my link is useful though. So if you are interested in getting one of these things, follow the link to FNIRSI's one first, the original link, the non-commission link, and then use my link as well. So I will also get a bit of a commission if you buy one of these things. I'll get a little bit of money from that, which helps the channel and helps me to produce more videos for you. Thanks a lot for FNIRSI for sending that to me. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe over here if you're not already subscribed. Other videos to watch down the bottom there. And over there is a Patreon support link if you want to help support the channel. Could be a couple of dollars a month. It helps me to buy stuff to make videos about. That's where the money goes. Catch you later.